Hello, and thank you for joining me. I know it's been a little while since I've uploaded, so let's ease back into things with a short video that packs a lot of flavor. Once I get done rambling, we will make a beautiful tomato salad with a walnut dressing. But first, please entertain my intro. Part of the reason for the lack of videos is that I was on vacation. If you are a regular to this channel, you know that I love to take inspiration from my travels, and this last trip was certainly no exception. I was in the country of Georgia. Before leaving, everyone we spoke to who has been there could not seem to recommend it enough, especially my Slavic friends. And sure enough, it lived up to the expectations. Leaving the beautiful nature aside, the food was truly fantastic. Aside from my trip to Thailand, I can't think of another vacation where basically every meal we ate was great. And we visited many different parts of the country, yet the food quality held up everywhere from the big cities to the remote villages. Big flavors, well seasoned, often a bit spicy, and generous in terms of portions. One of the things I think helped make it such a meaningful culinary experience for me was the fact that we visited in the summer. It was hot, and that meant all the produce that loves the heat was thriving and full of flavor. Summers in Denmark have their own magic, but the heat just isn't the same. The season for things like tomatoes and cucumbers is much shorter. It is a reality I have come to accept, to the point where I sometimes forget the taste of non-greenhouse grown produce. But this trip really reminded me of the special deliciousness of high summer produce. For me, the spirit was embodied in the ubiquitous Georgian tomato and cucumber salad. It was on every menu that we looked at, and we ended up eating one every day, even ordering it more than once on certain days. Very simple, yet very tasty. I feel that Italy is often pointed to with discussions of simplicity and tradition in food, but I think this philosophy is alive and well in Georgia as well. So, what's in it? The two most common forms of this salad you will find is one that is plain and one that is with walnuts. With the walnut variety, it could go one of two ways. Sometimes there were merely a sprinkling of chopped walnuts on the top of the salad. Other times everything was mixed in a blended walnut dressing. The other constant ingredients were cucumbers and red onions. Beyond that, there seemed to be flexibility with the type of herbs that are used, though cilantro and purple basil were the most frequently encountered. Some cooks also opted to add green chili, while others left it out entirely. I happen to really love the spicy varieties. So, with the introduction out of the way, let's get into the actual cooking. But I will say, I really encourage you to do this when you have access to some really nice produce, or else it will taste flat. I try to encourage seasonal cooking on this channel without being overbearing about it, but it really does make a difference with a dish like this. So do it when the weather is nice and hot. I'm making the version with walnuts today, opting for the style where everything is well coated in a walnut dressing, so we can start by making that dressing. I have here half a cup of walnuts, or about 50 grams, that I have lightly toasted. I also have a couple cloves of garlic peeled, then 2 tablespoons of a nice white wine vinegar. I give that a little blend to get things broken up. And then I go in with a 1/4 cup of water and blend it a little bit longer. I opt to keep things a little bit chunky so we still get some texture from the nuts. I pour that out into a bowl and give it a nice pinch of salt. It's good to allow it to sit for a bit so the vinegar will help to soften the harshness of the raw garlic. The dressing is really just as simple as that. Moving on to the produce, we need some tomatoes. For my friends back in Virginia and even further south, you probably have at least another month and a half of fresh tomatoes. For me, I've been lovingly growing some on my balcony, and by the looks of these plants, they are probably in the twilight of the cycle. So, a perfect opportunity to savor the small yield I can manage to get from these plants. It would also be more traditional to use larger varieties of tomatoes, but freshness is more important to me, and this is what I have. I'm making an individual salad, but you should aim for about a pound of tomatoes. If using bigger tomatoes, just cut them into wedges. Next up are the cucumbers, and you want about the same amount of those as tomatoes, so around a pound. I did not grow any cucumbers on my balcony, but luckily the bazaar near me had these nice looking ones that seem way nicer than the plastic wrap ones that are available all year round. I'm just slicing those on the bias. Then we need some red onions. I'm just slicing half of one of these small onions thinly. I also think it's a great idea to rinse your onion slices in cold water, or else they can kind of take over the taste of the salad. Now for a bit of spice, we need some green chili. I will garnish with a whole one, but I also want a bit chopped up in the actual salad, so I'm just mincing a little bit now. Use at your own discretion depending on how you feel about spice. For herbs, I've got a few stalks of cilantro or coriander here, and I'll just mince that up with my knife as well. And purple basil is a rare thing to come by here, but I do have some Thai basil, which is being a little bit cheeky. Now to assemble. I just get a nice big mixing bowl. I go in with all of our components. Then I add a good pinch of salt. Then I spoon in some of the dressing. You will probably use all of your dressing, but I'm making a small salad, so I don't want to overdo it. I give that a good mix and a taste. And I think I can use just a little more dressing, a little more mixing, and presto! We are ready to plate. Plop that into a bowl and garnish with a split green chili for those who need a little more spice. And that is all there is to it. Summertime goodness at its freshest and simplest. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this look at a very simple yet tasty salad. I hope you give it a try when you have access to some really nice fresh produce, and perhaps it'll be a pleasant reminder for how there is no replacing sun-ripened veggies. It certainly was for me. And don't be afraid to go off script if you enjoyed this but want to experiment. I'm sure you could have fun using different nuts in the dressing or changing up the herbs. For example, tarragon is also super popular in Georgia, so I bet that could be good in the mix. If it was blessed by the sun, I'm sure it would be delicious. If you like this video, you know the drill. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, send it to someone else and say, hey, isn't this guy great even though he talks so much? And of course, comment if you have anything to say. And lastly, some love to the country of Georgia. I really enjoyed my time there and hope to visit again one day. Thanks for all the great food. Until next time, cheers.